We took the new street stock out for its first race. I was really happy with how the car did, but we ran hot. I had not put a fan shroud on it. I'm running E85 and I really struggled to get the E85 and that motor to get up to temperature. This is the first street stock I built where that I actually got the front valence right. You know, pulled the car down with a load stick and figured out exactly how the car was gonna sit, like under load, compressed all the time on the track. And I had like a 2-inch gap running around the front of the car is all I had when it was in attitude. Totally cut the air out from under the car, pulling a vacuum under there. And so without a fan shroud, that fan was just sitting there recirculating the air, wasn't pulling anything through the radiator. So alcohol, gas, it don't matter. It ran hot. Let's put a fan shroud on it. You can see I've already pulled the radiator out. I went ahead and while I got it out, I'm soaking it in a kiddie pool. I just submerged the whole radiator and let it soak overnight. That's the best way to clean one, is like just let it soak. So I got that going on. I think that this is gonna be easier than the last one we did and harder in a way. Now, I've already done one video on building a fan shroud that we did on one of my buddy's late models. I'll put a link here. So if you're on your cell phone, it'll be up in the corner. You can click on the link and go watch that one where I built that fan shroud. That's a pretty complicated fan shroud that we built on that video. The reason I think it'll be easier is because the way that we mounted the radiator, I built this real simple square frame going around that the radiator just mounts up to, and then, you know, I got some bolts that just pinch and hold it. Well, that gives me a structure that I can just pop rivet a piece of flat aluminum right to for my base, you know, for my fan shroud. So that part's easier. The harder part, I angled and turned this radiator back to really maximize my hood clearance, where that I can get that angle and slope that I wanted on the front of this car, like to get that nose down and get that air over it. And for that reason, like my tip of my fan blade is way up here, you know, above my radiator. I'm over here to the edge of the radiator, and the fan is at one angle and the radiator is at another. So like we got a lot of stuff going on. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut a flat plate aluminum to go on this backside. No hole in it, no nothing. And I'm gonna cut it 19 by, oh, what is it gonna be? About 22. Yeah, about 22. I'm gonna come all the way up to this top T-bar right here instead of the radiator, where that I can get above the top of that fan tip right there. 19 by 22, let me get that cut. I've got my piece of metal cut here. I got a little bit of notching I need to do, so I'm gonna put this up here and see if I can't get it marked up here. Make a little notch right here. And I gotta make a little notch right there. All right, notch those out. So right now, all I'm worried about is getting the attachment figured out for this back plate, and that's it. So I'm just gonna get it up here. I'm gonna take some vice grips. I'm gonna clamp it down. Get these vice grips going here. A couple of them. It won't quite sit there. Come here, Betsy. Put one right in the middle, probably be enough. And contact. All right, let's drill some holes. And I've got some Clecos, those are temporary fasteners, and they work really good for this because this is going to come back off. And then we'll permanently pop rivet it when we're done. All right, next thing I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna mark the center of this fan, so the left to right shouldn't be too hard. I can just look straight down this fan right here. Get right in front of it. That is definitely my my left to right there. And then my height, I'll use a tape measure, probably be the best way to do this. What it is to the center of that fan. Yeah. And I put an extra ½ inch around it anyway, so I can be off some and I can bend and beat on it or whatever I gotta do, but we just gotta get close enough. Yeah, so now that I've got my center, I need to actually make the band to go around it. Let me look at the bottom down here. Let's see how wide. We're gonna make the band wider than it needs to be, and then we'll just trim it afterwards. We're gonna make the whole thing 9 inches, and then we're just gonna start trimming and just trim until we get everything like we want it. Well, I've got a piece of metal that's wide enough, but how long do I cut it? That's the next trick. A little bit of geometry here. We all love geometry, right? I promise you, this is not hard. So check this out. We're gonna use pi, all right? Which pi is your conversion if you want to figure out what the circumference of a circle is by the diameter. So if I have a circle and I know the distance I want to go across it, I can multiply it by 3.14 and it will tell me how much it takes to get around that circle. It's real easy. I have a 19-inch fan blade, okay? So it's 19 inches tip to tip. I know I want to add a 1/2 inch on each side of that fan, so that's 1 inch total extra diameter. So that's 20 inches across my shroud. So if I took pi of 3.14 and I multiplied it by 20 inches, which that's a 2, so that's super simple. I'm just basically doubling it. 628, and it's 62.8 inches. We could just say 62 3/4 of an inch. All right, so that's how long that metal has to be to go all the way around, and there'll be 20 inches across the center. You could do the same thing for a 15-inch blade, a 17-inch blade, however much gap you want to put. So if you had a 17-inch blade, you wanted to have a 1/2 inch of gap on each side, you would multiply 3.14, by 18 inches. Same exact deal. Now we are going to make it longer than this because we want to have an overlap. We don't want to have just like a butt joint, where this comes in contacts, because we have to overlap it and put some pop rivets through it so that it can hold a circle. All right, I'm going to overlap it by 4 inches. So I'm going to cut my piece of metal 66, 0.8 inches, and then turn around and make sure that I overlap 4 inches of that to make the center actual diameter across be 20 inches. And that's how we're going to do it. There's nothing to it, y'all. Let's see. All right. Okay. Take, curl you up, put you right on the mark at 4 inches. All right, that looks a whole lot like a circle. We took our base plate back off. I've got it marked for the center here. I'm going to mark 10 inches out, which is half of that 20. All right, so right there. Now that I got that marked, I'm going to take a compass. I'm going to go right in the center and I'm going to adjust it to exactly that 10 inches right there. Tighten that joker down. Make us a scribe line, and it's going to run outside this metal. That's okay. It don't matter a bit in the world. This is the inside location of our shroud. Of course, naturally it runs through where some of my rivets are. I'm going to have to move some rivets. If I have to move a few rivets, that's okay. Okay, now I know where this goes on this. Well, okay, I've got it marked, but look, I've got problems. I run outside of the shroud right here. I run right to the edge here. Not a big deal. I'm going to figure out where I want my band strap to be. I'm going to put my band up here at the top, I think is what I'm going to do. You see that gap right there that I was marking? I'm just going to look, and that's 2 inches right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and all the way around this part, I'm going to take and make a mark. I'm going to go 2.5 inches in. I'm going to take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to slot this back 2.5 inches, and I'll make a slot like every inch, 1.5 inches, all the way around this thing. And then when I put this on here, I'm going to fold where I've got plenty of material on the outside. I'll fold it out, but right here I will fold that material inwards And that'll all make sense when I start putting this thing together. So let me get that knocked out right quick. Grab my carabiner nose. I'm gonna go ahead and bend these in because I know where they go. So I'm just gonna start curling these inward. And if I cut them all right to that line I marked, they'll all pretty well just bend right on that line. We're gonna trim all of this ugliness away. It starts out ugly, but it gets pretty before it's over. Going out. All the rest of these I'm gonna go out with all the way around. See there? There, and I'll just go all the way around. All right, so I'm gonna trim this back to just wide enough on this outside to like get a rivet through it. So I'm gonna leave these probably about just 1 inch wide all the way around. Well, we've got it all flattened out all the way around, and so I'm just going to take and orient it like what I had marked. I'm gonna pick a spot, line up to my scribe, and just start drilling and putting pop rivets in. So I think I'm just gonna, this edge right here, I need to make sure that I get it right, so I'm probably gonna start over here with this edge and get it first. See where I pop riveted across there on the inside, that part? And then I came all the way around. Of course, I still got the center in. We're gonna cut the center out at the end, but when I cut the center out, this is gonna get real flimsy. At that point, I'm depending on pop riveting it to the actual frame for the radiator to support it. So the next thing I've gotta do is I've gotta make my cuts, because like I said, this is a whole lot of extra material right here. We're gonna cut a lot of this away to make it fit right. So there are measurements. So the depth we're looking for into the engagement on the blade, like how far back this shroud comes over the blade, 1/2 inch. That's all. As far as the science, that link that I shared on my other fan shroud video, I really go into the engineering and the science of like how the air acts and why you want that little bit of engagement there. So I won't go through that again here, but yeah, about 1/2 inch. Yeah, I think I can do it too. Oh, let's see. I think I've figured it out. There it goes. There it goes. Boy, you are not there yet. Now, oh, I forgot. I've got to cut a relief right here because this goes right here. So I am not as close as I thought I was. Duh, Jay. You've got to yeah, I gotta cut a relief. Well, are you gonna clear? Yes, it's gonna clear, it's gonna work, everything's gonna be fine. Everything is going to be fine. Now the whole thing's leaned down, so I've got so I'm tighter on the top and I'm looser on the bottom, that 1/2 inch, because I've got that angle in there. So it is distorting like how my circle's working. I wasn't thinking about that. It's not a big deal. It's still just gonna be fantastic. All right, there's that. I think we're pretty darn close. You can see here, I took and cut, and then I just took and just curled that around, all the way around it like that. This ain't the first one I've made, y'all. So, anyway, let's see how this one turns out. Just gonna go in easier now because I got that big old hole cut in it. Oh yeah. There we go. A whole lot easier now. You're touching right there. We just need to pop this thing in, and then I can just turn around and twist and bend and fight with it a little bit and square it all up. It's not gonna be a problem at all. Ooh, that brings back some painful memories right there, y'all. Woo! Boy. Anybody that raced in the 80s or 90s, or even in the early 2000s, I promise you, if they was stock car racing and building their own cars, you don't want to shake hands with them. Them jokers right there, buddy, they'll put a grip on you. I've got it all pop riveted on, and nothing's perfect, y'all. I've got a problem, but it's not that big a deal. No time to panic now. Check this out. Look, my blades are tight across the top. I'm just a little bit too tight here. I'm pushing down, and then also that little bit of angle difference, it's pulling me down right onto the fan blade on the top right here, and then I've got like an extra gap. So like I've got a 1-inch gap on the bottom and a nothing on the top. So hindsight's 20/20. To account for that angle, I should have moved up some with this entire shroud. But it doesn't matter, it's fine. We can make it work. Like I said, you realize you're close enough, you get it all pop riveted together, and then you can just bend, twist, and fight with it and figure it out from there. And this is no different. So what we're gonna do, we put our joint right here at the top, and we got 4 inches of overlap. So we're just gonna open it up where that we can make our top clear. It's not a big deal. Oh, I think I have it. Let's get the radiator back in it. Oh. Throw this joker up in there. I built this car where I could put this radiator in, get this radiator out to wash it pretty easy. And I think it's gonna work pretty darn good. I do. There we go. Just sits right in there, just like that. That is one thing in this design that I definitely got right. I didn't quite get this right on the last one. I got this right on this one. That is the way to go. Boom, just in and out. Lickety split. We're all adjusted out, everything works. I've got the radiator bolted down tight, and I've got an air gap across this top here where that I went with this base to this piece instead of this one. That is not a problem. That is the reason that I keep this big wide Gorilla Tape. This stuff is fantastic, just for this stuff right here. And I wrap my composite leaf springs with this stuff. This is what I used with them, and it is the best for that. By far the best, but I use it on my radiators as well. And man, once that radiator gets hot one time, yeah, good luck getting this off. You're not getting this stuff off. It is there. It is. You don't have to worry about any air blowing it off. So we'll just take and do that right there. That's all that needs. That way when I go pull my radiator out, I'll just rip and cut and it'll be good to go. Yep. Thing about it is, see, the reason it's not going to come off anyway is because the air is pulling a vacuum, so it's actually pulling the tape down tighter into it. So like, it's not a problem at all. And then this top right here, which is not going to pull much air. It might pull a little bit of air right here. So we'll just take and do that right there. Kind of curl that around just a little bit. Lay that right there. Seal that up. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks good. I like it. I like like it. And my hood is gonna be, I think my hood is, oh yeah, I stayed under my hood, so I did good. Overall, I would say that this one was easier to do than the first one I did on video. Now, I've done several of these over the years, but I've got a video. I'll link it also at the end of this video for that one, because it's got like more of the engineering detail of like why the back spacing should be the way it is. But yeah, it's got more of like a more complicated box, you know, like with plastic and stuff that I did. This is a little bit easier. Metal's easier to work with. You know, it's pretty rigid in all the way I did it, like that real thin edge. Y'all, you see, look, it's not going anywhere. I know when I was beating on it over here and you saw that real thin edge, you're like, oh man, that looks flimsy. But then when you get it all pop rooted together, it's rock solid. So don't put too much effort into stuff like this right here. Remember, what you're after is functional, for it to cool the engine, for it to direct the air and be able to cool the engine. That's the main thing. Exactly what it looks like and what you got to do to get it there, not a big deal. Hey, hope you're subscribed, because next Saturday night, I'm going to take this car, race number 2. This thing's going to be a feature winner. So y'all definitely want to be subscribed and stick around for those videos when they come out. I'll see you next time.